Okay, listen up. My name's Jack Miller, or what's left of him. I'm 60 now, pushing 70, with more miles on my body than an old pickup truck. And most of those miles, the really hard ones, they got put on in a place called Vietnam. You see it on the news sometimes, those old grainy black and white photos, the jungle, the helicopters. But unless you were there, unless you breathed that air, felt that heat, heard those sounds, well, you don't really know. You can't. But maybe, just maybe, if I tell you a little bit of my story, you'll get a glimpse. It all started back in '68. I was just a kid, fresh out of high school in Iowa. Cornfields and clear skies. That was my world. Simple. I remember sitting in our living room, watching the nightly news on our old Zenith TV. Black and white. They showed these brave guys, American soldiers, fighting for freedom, for democracy, trying to help people half a world away. And I saw those paratroopers, World War II heroes, guys who dropped out of the sky to fight tyranny. That image, it got inside me. I felt this burning in my gut. This was my calling. This was my chance to be part of something big, something important. I truly believed we were the good guys, bringing liberation, bringing hope. I thought they'd welcome us with open arms, like liberators. Man, was I naive. The minute I signed those papers, it was like stepping onto a whole different planet. The Army. They put you through basic training, then advanced infantry, then airborne. It was a grind, all right? From June to December of '68, every single day was about pushing limits. We ran, we crawled, we jumped. Obstacle courses that felt like they were designed by the devil himself. Mud, barbed wire, explosions going off around you. The drill sergeants? They were like demons, always in your face, screaming, pushing, breaking you down to build you back up. You maggots are gonna hurt. You're gonna bleed. But you ain't gonna quit. And we didn't. We learned to strip and clean our M16s in seconds, blindfolded. We practiced setting tripwires, laying out claymore mines, digging foxholes that could save your life. We learned to move silently through simulated jungle, to breathe with the earth, to become part of the shadows. My body ached constantly, every muscle screaming, but my mind was focused, electrified. I was getting tough, getting sharp. I felt ready for anything Vietnam could throw at me. I was confident, you see. So green, it hurts to think about now. I truly believed I was invincible, a lean, mean fighting machine. Then came January of '69. That's when the real show started. We landed at Tan Son Nhut Air Base in Saigon. I expected, I don't know, a band? Cheering crowds? Something. But there was nothing. No warm welcome. Just this oppressive, humid heat that hit you like a brick wall the moment you stepped off the plane. The air was thick with the smell of jet fuel, exhaust, and something else. Something acrid, metallic. Gunpowder, maybe. It clung to everything. The airport was a chaotic symphony of noise. The constant thrum of helicopters, choppers landing, taking off, their rotors whipping up dust and debris. The distant, persistent thud of artillery, like a giant's heartbeat. And everywhere, soldiers. Not like in the movies. These guys, they moved with a grim purpose. Their eyes, they weren't excited. They were watchful, empty, almost. Every single one of them was carrying a weapon, a rifle slung over their shoulder, a pistol on their hip. Everyone was serious. No smiles, just a quiet tension that hummed in the air. That's when it really hit me. This wasn't a parade. This was war. Right here, right now. At night, the sky over Saigon would light up, not with fireworks, but with flares. Eerie green-white glows hanging in the darkness, illuminating the blackness of the jungle beyond the city's lights. Each flare was a silent signal. A battle was happening out there. Somewhere. Constantly. And the ride from the airport? Forget hopping in a jeep and cruising. We moved in armored convoys, heavily guarded. The tension was palpable. Every corner, every shadow felt like a potential ambush. It was clear right then and there. This wasn't like anything I'd seen in movies or read in books. This was the real deal. And it was a hell of a lot different from Iowa. My first assignment put me in the 1st Corps, up near Quang Ngai. Man, that was a hot zone. Not just the temperature, which felt like walking inside a giant's mouth, but the action. Every day was a gamble. My first patrol, I still remember it like it was yesterday, though the years have a way of blurring things. We went deep into the jungle, and I mean deep. The air was thick, heavy, like breathing soup. Every breath felt like an effort. The trees, they weren't just big, they were monstrous, their canopies so dense that the sun barely touched the jungle floor. It was like walking through a perpetual twilight. The humidity, it just soaked through everything. Your fatigues were constantly drenched in sweat, chafing against your skin. You felt dirty, sticky, all the time. We had to move through rice paddies. Imagine this. You're trudging through 4 feet of black, murky water. Underneath that, bottomless mud. Your feet just sink, sucking you down, trying to steal your boots. And the leeches, God almighty, the leeches. Green and black, some of them 6 inches long. They'd slither under your fatigues or latch on right through the fabric, siphoning your blood. You'd feel them, sometimes, just this soft, squishy sensation, and you knew you had another passenger. You just had to grit your teeth and keep moving. Every rustle in the leaves, every distant bird call, it could be a warning. You were always on edge, muscles tensed, senses hyper-alert. The jungle breathed with you, but it was a cold, alien breath. Then it happened. It was sudden, like a lightning strike. The world just exploded. Crack, crack, crack. The sharp, distinct sound of a K-47's cutting through the jungle hum. Then our M16s opened up, a ripping, tearing sound that mixed with the enemy fire. Bullets whizzed past my head, close enough to feel the wind of them, kicking up dirt and splinters from the trees. I dove for cover, hitting the ground hard behind a massive tree trunk, the rough bark digging into my cheek. My heart was pounding like a drum, a frantic, desperate rhythm against my ribs. Ambush! Ambush! Someone yelled, their voice hoarse with adrenaline. The air was thick with the smell of gunpowder, acrid and metallic, stinging my nostrils. I saw flashes of movement through the dense foliage, barely glimpsing figures in black. I squeezed the trigger, a controlled burst, aiming where I thought they were. Return fire. It was pure instinct. Then I saw him. My buddy, Private Smith, just a few feet to my left. He let out a choked gasp, his rifle clattering to the ground. He clutched his chest, his eyes wide with a sudden, horrifying realization, before he slumped forward into the murky water, a sickening splash. Blood, bright red, bloomed around him, staining the water, mixing with the mud. It splattered onto my fatigues, warm and sticky. For a split second, a wave of nausea, of pure, unadulterated terror, washed over me. But there was no time for it. No time to grieve, no time to think. Just the relentless roar of combat, the need to survive. My training kicked in, a brutal, efficient override of emotion. I was just a cog in the machine, a trigger puller. After the chaos subsided, after we managed to push them back, we found some villagers nearby. Civilians, or so they seemed. But I saw some of our guys, angry, roughing them up, questioning them, and something shifted inside me. I had come here to help these people, to liberate them. But these villagers, their eyes were cold, empty, no gratitude, no warmth, just a deep-seated suspicion, maybe even hate. Was it fear or something else? That's when the line started to blur. The enemy wasn't just a guy shooting at you. It was anyone. Everyone. A chilling paranoia began to set in. Was that old woman just a farmer? Or was she reporting our movements? Was that kid selling soda a capitalist or a spotter for an ambush? It was a terrifying realization, and it made you hard. You had to be. Life in the outpost, Hayton, was a constant, grinding tension. We lived in these miserable bunkers, made of sandbags and barbed wire. They smelled of damp earth, stale sweat, and fear. At night, the rats would crawl over you, big as small cats, too exhausted to care, too weary to wake. They were just part of the scenery. My job, with my demolitions training, was to fortify the place. I became obsessed with it. I laid out claymore mines like daisy chains around the perimeter, setting tripwires, rigging up booby traps, hundreds of them. Every night, before turning in, you'd check your sector, make sure nothing was disturbed. It was a macabre game of chance. Every night's a roll of the dice, I used to tell myself as I checked the wiring. You never know which bang is going to wake you up, or put you to sleep permanently. The enemy, Charlie, he liked to send us reminders, especially with 120mm rockets. You'd hear that distant thump, and then a moment later, a terrifying whoosh as it tore through the air, screaming straight for you. You'd dive for cover, praying to a god you weren't sure existed anymore. The impact was deafening. Kaboom! The ground would shudder, dirt and shrapnel would rain down. The air would fill with the acrid smell of high explosives and scorched earth. I remember one time we were about to dig a new trench, literally just moments before a 120mm rocket slammed into the exact spot. If we'd been 5 minutes faster, our whole squad would have been wiped out. Just gone. Pure luck. Or maybe something else. The thing is, these incessant attacks, the booby traps, the snipers, they took a toll. Not just physically, but mentally. Every casualty, every guy blown apart by a mine, it hardened you. It solidified that feeling. These people, these villagers, they were the enemy too. Or they supported the enemy. So the aggression, it just escalated. It became a vicious cycle. The more we fought, the more we pushed, the more resistance we faced. It was like trying to put out a fire by pouring gasoline on it. And the information? We barely had any. We were just grunts on the ground, living minute to minute. No grand strategy, no political context. Just the immediate threat. It was impossible to make sense of anything. This lack of understanding, it just fed the fear, the confusion. You just did what you were told, what you were trained to do, because the alternative was unthinkable. After about 6 months, they pulled me out, sent me back to a training base to be an instructor, teach the new guys about demolitions, about surviving, but it felt wrong. Every time I stood in front of those fresh-faced kids, talking about fuse cords and C4, I saw my buddies still out there, bleeding, dying in the jungle. I felt this gnawing guilt, like a traitor. Here I am, I'd think, safe and sound lecturing, while my friends are out there catching hell. It tore me up inside. To make matters worse, I got injured during a parachute jump in training. Messed up my back pretty bad. Not enough to be sent home, but enough to disqualify me from frontline combat. I was stuck teaching while the war raged on. And the news. Oh, the news back home. They'd show these slick reports about progress, about how we were winning hearts and minds, about our military successes. But I'd just come from the real thing. And what I saw, what I lived, it was a never-ending meat grinder. The discrepancy between what they were saying and what I knew was the truth, it was jarring. It just fueled this deep, bitter disillusionment. They said we were winning, but every day, more American boys died. Every day, more villages were leveled. And the worst part? You started to realize that the people we were supposedly liberating, many of them didn't want us there at all. They despised us. That feeling, that cold, silent hatred in their eyes. It compounded the moral conflict. Seeing the destruction we were forced to wreak, the innocent lives caught in the crossfire, and knowing we were doing it for people who hated us. That's when you really start to question everything. It was a brutal, brutal awakening. But a soldier's gotta do what a soldier's gotta do. Or maybe a man just can't walk away when his brothers are still in the fire. My back was messed up. They put this big, clunky brace on me. But I couldn't stand it. I ripped that thing off. I started doing push-ups, planks, anything to strengthen my core. I had to get back. Had to. I pulled some strings, managed to get myself reassigned to Vietnam as a military advisor, MACV. Supposed to be building bridges, doing reconnaissance. Easy work, right? Nah, not for me. I traded assignments with a buddy, pushed my way back into the thick of it, back into the jungle. I can't leave my guys out there, I told myself. And it was hell again. Just as bad, maybe worse. The patrols. Always the patrols. Every step, a gamble. Mines, booby traps. You never knew. The constant gnawing fear was a living thing in your gut. One day, we were deep in a triple canopy jungle, thick as thieves, moving slow. You could barely see 10 feet in front of you. Suddenly, the lead point man, a young kid barely out of high school, he stepped on something. Boom. The sound wasn't just loud. It was a physical blow, vibrating through your chest. His body, it just exploded, torn to pieces. Blood and flesh, hot and sickening, rained down on the jungle floor, splattering on the leaves on us. I rushed forward, my hands trembling as I tried to put him back together. But there was nothing left. Nothing. Just a mangled, bloody mess where a boy used to be. His eyes, they were still wide open, staring blankly at the green canopy, as if he was trying to understand what had just happened. That's when it hit me, deep in my soul. This is what it means. It can all end just like that, in the most brutal, senseless way imaginable. The rage, the grief, it solidified into something cold and hard inside me. A hatred for the enemy, for what they did, for what they forced us to do. You see your friends mutilated, blown apart, and something breaks inside. You just want revenge. And when you get it, there's a perverse kind of satisfaction. You're giving them a taste of their own medicine. It's ugly, it's brutal, but it's what keeps you going in that moment. And then there were the other jobs, the ones that haunt you long after the fighting stops. Like when a SOG team, those really deep recon guys, got wiped out. We'd be sent in to find what was left. Operation Cleanup, we called it. Trying to find a leg, an arm, anything, just a piece to identify who it was. For the families, you see, so they could have some kind of closure. Even though you knew sometimes those guys called in airstrikes on themselves when they knew they were dead meat anyway. Took as many of Charlie with them as they could. That kind of work. It sticks with you. It carves out a hole in your soul. I don't talk about it much. Most of us don't, because how do you explain it? How do you make someone understand? I still don't believe in heroes. Not really. I just did what had to be done. But those experiences, they just burrow into your mind. The nightmares, man, they're the worst. The first time I came home after my first tour, I woke up in bed next to my wife. Just snapped. I thought I was back in the jungle, fighting. I almost hurt her. Didn't know where I was. Wasn't used to being that close to anyone. That's the real scar. The one you can't see. The one that tells you the war isn't over. Not for you. Not ever. Coming home, that was a whole different kind of fight. The plane landed in San Francisco, and the city was shrouded in fog. Just like my mind, everything felt off, different. It wasn't the clear skies of Iowa anymore. And there certainly wasn't any cheering. Just a quiet arrival, no fanfare, no parades. Just home. I tried to adjust, met my family, but it felt like there was a glass wall between us. I was there, but I wasn't there. My old girlfriend, she'd moved on. Can't blame her. I was gone for so long, and when I came back, I was different. Broken, maybe. You carry so much anger, so much rage inside you from all that combat. It's hard to just turn that off. The nightmares, they just kept coming. Every night, the jungle, the explosions, the faces. I couldn't sleep. I felt isolated. Nobody really understood what I'd been through. I went through a rough patch, tried to find my footing. Ended up going to tech school for air conditioning and refrigeration. Funny, huh? From demolitions to HVAC. But it was something to do with my hands, something mechanical, something I could understand. It helped. And eventually, I even went back into the military, into the Navy Seabees. Yeah, I know. Army to Navy. Split loyalties. But the Seabees, they build things. And I ended up teaching them about mines and booby traps, about combat engineering. It was a way to channel all that experience, all that knowledge. I burned my discharge papers, all of them. Everything that tied me to that initial bitterness, the way I felt they tossed us aside or misunderstood us. But deep down, I still loved my country. Always will. Even when it broke its promises, even when it let us down. I don't talk about it much, like I said. But sometimes, when I meet another vet or someone who just gets it, a little piece comes out. And maybe, just maybe, telling these stories, it helps. It helps people understand the true cost. Not just the numbers, but the real human cost. I often think about it. If I could go back, if we had done things differently, I sometimes wish we had sided with Ho Chi Minh from the start. He actually asked America for help way back when. The Vietnamese people, they're beautiful people, hardworking, sincere, like the Montagnards we fought alongside. We missed the boat, I think. South Vietnam could have been like Korea, thriving. But that's just an old man's thought now. My war, it never really ended. The echoes are still there. But I pray. I'm a Christian, and I believe in a God who doesn't make junk. I believe my brothers who fell, they're at peace now. They fought for what they believed in, for each other, and they deserve honor. And for me? I guess Vietnam was my destiny. From that little kid playing with toy soldiers to the man I am now, it shaped me. It broke me, and it built me up again. And I wouldn't trade it, not for anything, because it made me who I am. Thank you for listening.